Hello everyone, and welcome to Key to Theosophy. I think we're on 29 now. How is that possible? We're actually on page 109, and we're moving forward through section 7. So you can pick up these studies anywhere you wish here on the Living Theosophy YouTube channel. On this channel, you will find there are audiobooks here for free. There's the Light on the Path book study series, which were live webinars, which we did. We're doing the Voice of the Silence webinars where we go live on YouTube and we're all together as we study. And we're really just growing. The key to Theosophy, I think if you're looking to learn Theosophy, you're not here on this channel by accident. I went looking for it. I've been looking for it all my life, finally found it and put it into application. It is not a place. It is not a destination. It is not a building. It is not a spiritual superhero that's going to descend from the sky. It is inside you. All of this takes place inside you. This ancient, sacred, divine wisdom is not a religion. It is knowledge that belongs to all and solely to none, and it does not divide. It does not. You can be a Buddhist and be a Theosophist. You can be an atheist, kind of, and be a Theosophist. Anyway, listen, it applies to everybody, because if you want to learn more about space, time, if you want to learn more about science, philosophy, if you want to learn more about the macrocosm, the microcosm, you want to learn about ghosts, you want to learn about the afterlife, you want to learn about karma, you want to learn about how to heal over pain, if you want to learn about how to cope, if you want to overcome addictions, if you want to be able to just live, this is the textbook for humanity, not just this book, but the ancient teachings of Theosophy, which comes from the word Theosophia. Theos meaning gods, Sophia meaning wisdom, the ancient wisdom of the gods. These teachings can be traced all the way back to ancient Egypt and Africa. They are timeless and they don't belong to anyone. And it is not about the scribes who wrote them down. All right? It's not about them, because if we worshiped the people who wrote them down, we get lost in that. I think it's human nature for us to want to put the onus, the responsibility of our spirituality outside of ourselves. We want to pray to something out there, up there, over there, for something to happen. That's giving your power away. One of the things we were told from the very beginning is, man, know thyself, from the oracle at Delphi and beyond that. Know who you are. Who are you, man? Okay, that doesn't just mean know this particular physical incarnation. That's one page, one line in a chapter of pages of books upon books. Know who you are. And what you are looking for is not in a church. It's not going to be doled out once you join an organization. It is not going. You can't buy it. You can't learn it, but you can earn it. You can earn it, and you can apply it, and you can become it. And that is imperative here in the Living Theosophy studies. I am simply a student of Theosophy. This is not about me. I don't even give my name here. On the other Living Theosophy platforms, on Instagram, you will see memes and clips and things. That's solely theosophical. On the Living Theosophy Facebook channel, that is solely theosophical. On the Living Theosophy Twitter feed, you will see our real life coming in on the Periscope channel, which Periscope is a live feed. It's a live stream, which I actually show kind of a look into our lives, while all the while applying these theosophical principles. Theosophy can be applied in every moment of every single day, in every way. Seriously, from morning till night is when I am, and actually at night, during my dreaming state, I am in application of these principles, these ancient teachings. There isn't one moment in time, even now, as I'm dealing with the teleprompter and trying to fiddle with the lighting and working against the clock, trying to get this video up in time, I am dealing and understanding the principles of Theosophy. It is a way of life. It is not something you do just once in a while, or you study it, or you master it, or memorize it. You never master it. You apply it. You become it. Become compassion, understanding, empathy, unconditional love. Become those things. That is what Theosophy teaches you, and then some. We are looking here at the foundation of all of the world's religions, sciences, and philosophies. This is where it all began. So if you are here, let us move forward before I babble on into Section 7, and I think this is Key to Theosophy 29 on the Living Theosophy YouTube channel. I'm just doing it in chunks. I just figured one day I needed to start doing this because the place that people are going to, they're not going to libraries. Hang on. You're on your phone. You're on the internet. You're on your iPad. You're on your computer. That's where people are. So we are meeting here, and that's where you'll find these teachings. They have changed my life. They have saved my life. And I hope that they will also for you. So let's get started. We're on page 109. I'll put a link below to the original text. And while I think today's the 5th of January, 2020, there are still copies available as of today, free copies. If you live in the United Kingdom, I can get you a free paperback of this from the Theosophical headquarters out of London. And there are limited quantities available. If you're watching this video later on, they might not still be available, but you can find affordable copies on YouTube or on global outlets, let's just say that. I will include a link to the original photographed text. It's a photocopy of this text. But if you wish, send me an email. And if it's still near the date of January 5th, 2020, there might still be copies available for folks in the United Kingdom, which is a very honorable thing for the Theosophical Society out of London to offer to do that, to send those out. So drop me a line. I'll include the email down below, and I'll get you your information to them. And I will also be speaking in February, I believe it is on the 22nd, on Saturday in London, on Living Theosophy. So if you are around, I hope to see you there. I'm going to have more information coming out about that talk. But all of us can be living theosophists. All of us should be living theosophists. It's not about me. Living Theosophy is about you. So let's get started. Remember, written in question and answer form on eternal reward and punishment and on nirvana. The inquirer asks, it is hardly necessary, I suppose, to ask you whether you believe in the Christian dogmas of paradise and hell or in future rewards and punishments as taught by the Orthodox churches. Theosophist answers, as described in your catechisms, we reject them absolutely. Least of all would we accept their eternity. But we believe firmly in what we call the law of retribution, and in the absolute justice and wisdom guiding this law, or karma. Hence, we positively refuse to accept the cruel and unphilosophical belief in eternal reward or eternal punishment. We say with Horace, who is the Roman poet Horace, let rules be fixed that may our rage contain, and punish faults with a proportioned pain, but do not flay him who deserves alone a whipping for the fault that he has done. This is a rule for all men, and a just one. Have we to believe that God, of whom you make the embodiment of wisdom and love and mercy, is less entitled to these attributes than that of mortal man? Inquirer asks. Have you any other reasons for rejecting this dogma? Theosophist, our chief reason for it lies in the fact of reincarnation. As already stated, we reject the idea of a new soul created for every newborn babe. We believe that every human being is the bearer or the vehicle of an ego, coeval, which means coexistent, with every other ego, because all egos are of the same essence and belong to the primeval emanation from the one universal infinite ego. Plato calls this the latter, the Logos, or the second manifested God, and we, the manifested divine principle, which is one with the universal mind or soul, not the anthropomorphic, extracosmic, and personal God in which so many theists believe. Pray, do not confuse. Inquirer, but where is the difficulty once you accept a manifested principle in believing that the soul of every new mortal is created by that principle, as all the souls before it have been created? Theosophist, because that which is impersonal can hardly create, plan, and think at its own sweet will and pleasure, being a universal law, immutable in its periodical manifestations, those of radiating and manifesting its own essence at the beginning of every new cycle of life. It is not supposed to create men, only to repent a few years later of having created them. If we have to believe in a divine principle at all, it must be in one which is as absolute harmony, logic, and justice as it is in absolute love, wisdom, and impartiality, and a God who would create every soul for the space of one brief span of life, regardless of the fact whether it has to animate the body of a wealthy, a happy man, or that of a poor suffering wretch, hapless from birth to death, though he has done nothing to deserve his cruel fate, would be rather a senseless fiend than a God. Vide infra, that means from the text on the punishment of the ego. Why, even the Jewish philosophers, the believers in the Mosaic Bible, esoterically of course, have never entertained such an idea. And moreover, they believed in reincarnation, as we do. Inquirer: can you give me some instances of proof of this? Theosophist: most decidedly I can. Philo-Judaeus says in De Somnis, which means about dreams, on page 455, the air is full of them, souls, who, those which are nearest the earth, descending to be tied to mortal bodies, which is called palindromesiothus, written in Greek in here. It means reflux tomorrow. They return to other bodies, being desirous to live in them. So, the air is full of them, souls, those which are nearest the earth, descending to be tied to mortal bodies, they return to other beings, being desirous to live in them. In the Zohar, the soul is made to plead her freedom before God. Lord of the universe, I am happy in this world, and I do not wish to go into another world where I will be a handmaid and be exposed to all kinds of pollutions. And that is a footnote from the Zohar in volume 2, page 96. The doctrine of fatal necessity, the everlasting, immutable law, is asserted in the answer of the deity. Against thy will, thou will becomest an embryo, and against thy will thou art born. That's footnote number 2 from Mishnah, Abboth, volume 4, page 29. Light would be incomprehensible without darkness. To make it manifest by contrast, good would be no longer good without evil, to show the priceless nature of the boon. And so personal virtue could claim no merit unless it had passed through the furnace of temptation. Nothing is eternal and unchangeable, save the concealed deity. Nothing that is finite, whether because it had a beginning or must have an end, can remain stationary. It must either progress or recede. And a soul which thirsts after a reunion with its spirit, which alone confers upon it immortality, must purify itself through cyclic transmigrations onward toward the only land of bliss and eternal rest, called in the Zohar the Palace of Love. In here it's written in Hebrew, but it means the Palace of Love. In the Hindu religion, it's the moksha. With the Gnostics, the pleroma of eternal light. By the Buddhists, it's called nirvana. And all these states are temporary. They are not eternal. Inquirer asks, yet there is no reincarnation spoken of in all of this. Theosophist says, a soul which pleads to be allowed to remain where she is must be pre-existent and not have been created for the occasion. In the Zohar, volume 3, page 61. However, there is still better proof, speaking of the reincarnating egos, the rational souls, those whose last personality has to fade out entirely, it is said. All souls which have alienated themselves in heaven from the Holy One, blessed be his name, have thrown themselves into an abyss at their very existence, and have anticipated the time when they are to descend once more on earth. The Holy One means here esoterically Atman or Atma Buddhi, the highest self, the one, the absolute. Inquirer. Moreover, it is very strange to find nirvana spoken of as something synonymous with the kingdom of heaven or the paradise, since according to every Orientalist of note, nirvana is a synonym of annihilation. Theosophist answers, taken literally, with regard to the personality, and differentiated matter, not otherwise. These ideas on reincarnation and the Trinity of man were held by many of the early Christian fathers. It is the jumble made by the translators of the New Testament and the ancient philosophical treatises between soul and spirit that has occasioned the many misunderstandings. It is also one of the many reasons why Buddha, Plotinus, and so many other initiates are now accused of having longed for the total extinction of their souls. Absorption into the deity or reunion with the universal soul, meaning, according to modern ideas, annihilation. The personal soul must, of course, be disintegrated into its particles before it is able to link its pure essence forever with the immortal spirit. But the translators of both the Acts and the Epistles, who laid the foundation of the kingdom of heaven, and the modern commentators on the Buddhist Sutra of the Foundation of the Kingdom of Righteousness, have muddled the sense of the great apostle of Christianity, as of the great reformer of India. The former have smothered the word psychic. Here it's written in Greek, so that no reader imagines it to have any relation with the soul. And with this, the confusion of soul and spirit together, Bible readers get only a perverted sense of anything on the subject. On the other hand, the interpreters of Buddha have failed to understand the meaning and the object of the Buddhist 4 degrees of dhyana. Ask the Pythagoreans, can that spirit which gives life and motion and partakes of nature and light be reduced to nonentity? Can even that sensitive spirit in brutes which exercises memory, one of the rational faculties, die and become nothing, observe the occultists. In Buddhistic philosophy, annihilation means only a dispersion of matter in whatever form or semblance of form it may be. For everything that has form is temporary. Everything that has form is temporary, and is therefore really an illusion. For in eternity, the longest periods of time are as the wink of an eye. So with form, before we have time to realize that we have seen it, it is gone like an instantaneous flash of lightning and passed forever. When the spiritual entity breaks loose forever from every particle of matter, substance, or form, and becomes a spiritual breath, then only does it enter upon the eternal and unchangeable nirvana, lasting as long as a cycle of life has lasted, an eternity truly. And then that breath, existing in spirit, is nothing because it is all. As a form, a semblance, a shape, it is completely annihilated. As absolute spirit, it still is. For it has become beingness, with a B, the very word used, absorbed into the universal essence. When spoken of the soul as spirit, it means union with. It can never mean annihilation, as that word would mean eternal separation. Inquirer, do not lay yourself open to the accusation of preaching annihilation by the language you yourself use. You have just spoken of the soul of man returning to its primordial elements. Theosophist answers, but you forget that I have given you the differences between the various meanings of the word soul, and shown the loose way in which the term spirit has been hitherto translated. We speak of an animal, a human, and a spiritual soul, and distinguish between them. Plato, for instance, calls rational soul that which we call buddhi, adding to it the adjective of spiritual. However, but that which we call reincarnating ego, manas, he calls spirit, nous, whereas we apply the term spirit when standing alone and without any qualification to Atma alone. Pythagoras repeats our archaic doctrine when stating that the ego, nous, is eternal with deity, that the soul only passed through various stages to arrive at divine excellence, while thumos, in Homer's works, thumos means to denote emotions, desire, or internal urge. Thumos returned to the earth, and even the phren and the lower manas was eliminated. Again, Plato defines soul, buddhi, as the motion that is able to move itself. Soul, he adds, laws X, is the most ancient of all things and the commencement of motion, thus calling Atma buddhi soul and manas spirit, which we do not. Soul was generated prior to body, and body is posterior and secondary, as being according to nature, ruled over by the ruling soul. The soul, which administers all things that are moved in every way, administers likewise the heavens. Soul then leads to everything in heaven and on earth and in the sea by its movements, the names of which are to will, to consider, to take care of, to consult, to form opinions, true and false, to be in a state of joy, in a state of sorrow, confidence, fear, hate, love, together with all such primary movements as are allied to these. Being a goddess herself, she overtakes an ally, nous, a god, and disciplines all these things correctly and happily. But when with anoia, not nous, it works out everything the contrary. In this language, as in the Buddhist texts, the negative is treated as essential existence. Annihilation comes under a similar exegesis. Exegesis means a critical explanation or interpretation of a text. The positive state is essential being, but no manifestation as such. When the spirit, in Buddhistic parlance, enters nirvana, it loses objective existence, but remains subjective being. To objective minds, this is becoming absolute nothing. To subjective, no thing. Nothing to be displayed to sense. Thus, their nirvana means the certitude of individual immortality in spirit, not in soul, which, though the most ancient of all things, is still, along with all the other gods, a finite emanation in forms and individuality, if not in substance. Inquirer. I do not quite seize the idea yet, and would be thankful if you would please explain this to me by some illustrations. Theosophist. No doubt it is very difficult to understand, especially to one brought up in the regular orthodox ideas of the Christian Church. Moreover, I must tell you one thing, and this is that unless you have studied thoroughly well the separate functions assigned to all of the human principles and the state of all of these after death, you will hardly realize our Eastern philosophy. There is so much in there. And thank you so much for tolerating the teleprompter. It's interesting. I'd like to be able to study this and then say it with you and then read it to you, but the most important work takes place when you crack this book for yourself and you read these in chunks. You can let me read along with you. You can listen to it and read along in the text I provided below. If you live in the United Kingdom and it's still available, there are a limited supply of paperbacks that we are mailing out to living theosophists here in the United Kingdom. Unfortunately, I've gotten requests from all over the world, but I cannot mail them outside of the UK. But there are available links online for free, and I will include that below in this video. So we are studying along. We're now on page, we started on 109 today. So we are moving, look how far we've come. We've done all this together. Started a couple years ago. I think it was in January of 2017, I think we started. It is January 2020. Oh my God. It's a long time. It's more than 2 years, it's 3 years. But anyway, I do this as a labor of love because I believe that these teachings, if you're here and you can apply these and understand them and put them into action, then this is the true church. You're the kingdom of, you're the vessel, okay? The kingdom of heaven is within you. It's in your midst. We've been told this. We keep thinking it's walking around in a group that we're at, and I don't know, in Times Square. It's over there. It's in the middle. Midst means middle of you. Know yourself. Know who you truly are. And know that when you pray to something that is outside of you, you're giving your power away. Everything that you're looking for is closer than your own breath. It is your breath. It is there within your breath. It is within all things. And Theosophy teaches you that and then some. So thank you for joining me for this episode. We will be back, I think, hopefully in the next couple weeks with another live Voice of the Silence. So we'll do those live, and I've done them at different times of the day. I'm in UK time, so I'm in Greenwich Mean Time. Yeah, Greenwich Mean Time. So I don't know what times work best, and those are usually small groups. They can become bigger groups if we wish, and if there's a better time that works for you, then let me know what time works for you, because then we'll go on live maybe late at night here in the UK. That might be easier for people in the US. But it doesn't matter where you are or who you are. What matters is how you are. Theosophy is who Theosophy does. So how you act and how you treat other people, unconditional love, understanding, compassion, empathy, kindness, and unity. That is Theosophy. And it isn't going to come by going to a place once a week and putting your money in the little slot. It's not. It's not going to come by following a guru here on YouTube. It's not. It's going to come by you becoming these teachings. And if you wish to learn more, please click and subscribe. You can get the notification button there so you know when a new video is up and when we do the live book studies. There are free ebooks. I have put a link down below. These should always be free. This is a labor of love. I'm a former radio and television broadcaster now doing this because I believe in these teachings. And it may be years and years and years down the line that you come across this video. The year now is 2020. But whatever year it is for you, when you find these, good for you. Apply them, become them, share them, and know that there is hope because you can feel them. If these resonate with you as they do with me, you can feel it. And you know you got to get busy. There is much work to do. It is to ease the unnecessary suffering of all beings on our planet. That's why we're here. And I love you, and I'll see you soon.